Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Fortunately, it's at least one session away from lunch, so people will be more active in listening. The IT infrastructure, no doubt, is probably the biggest capex which the world has ever seen, not only for India, for even for overseas. But as far as the Indian context is concerned, there are 5 basic reasons why the IT infrastructure entire sector and business in India is so important and so big, not only for India and Indians, but for the whole world. Number one is the major campuses we have in India. If you look at the Infosys campus, the Microsoft campus, the TCS campuses all over India, they're amazing campuses. If you have visited any one of them, I'm sure you have. They're really, really good quality global infrastructure campuses. With the second thing is with all the high-end equipments, whether it's the machines, the server racks, the routers, the latest machines are all there in the campuses and then also in the campuses of many of the organizations in India. The third important factor is that India is, of course, the leader in software, and the latest softwares are all present in this important infrastructure. The fourth, and perhaps the most important, is India has the largest number and the most high quality skilled professionals in the IT infrastructure sector. And finally, the most, again, equally important, is all these are run by a very sound network under a complete security system. I am very lucky to have some experts in my panel. I would first like to start with Mr. Arun Karna, who is the Managing Director and the CEO of the worldwide, probably the biggest company in the telecommunication infrastructure company, AT&T. And I would like to ask him right away, as we have some shortage of time, that what do you think, Mr. Karna, are the key components of the IT infrastructure 2.0 going forward? Over to you, sir.
First of all, thank you, Sukanta, and thank you for setting the stage so well. And it's an honor and privilege to be speaking to all of you here from this platform today. So just to lay some context on this, I come from the enterprise space. And in the enterprise space, the overall infrastructure stands on 3 pillars. So there is the IT infrastructure, there are the data and applications, and there is the network infrastructure which connects them all. And all 3 pillars are currently getting more and more software defined and data powered. We all know that there's increased dependency on digital technologies as enterprise really accelerate their own digital transformation. So we are seeing this whole coming together of the physical and digital, and hence the new term called phygital. So in this context, I would say the IT infrastructure 2.0 strategy would be defined by a digital first approach. So if I may sort of paint a picture, that kind of digital infrastructure would have sort of a digital core at the center. Then the next layer would be the digital ecosystems. And if you can imagine the outermost layer, which would be the digital edge, so to speak. So just to talk a little bit about this, digital core would be where you get rid of the limitations of your legacy infrastructure. So this is where your cloud adjacent data would be, this is where your cloud adjacent infra would be, and sort of that would make it more flexible in a sense. The next layer, which is the digital ecosystem, this is where enterprises would have access to digital marketplaces, digital ecosystems, and this is where your so-called composable infrastructure would reside. So like technology as a service, software as a service, managed services, and this would bring further flexibility and agility to the enterprise architecture. And the outermost layer would be the so-called digital edge, where enterprises would distribute their edge architecture to bring more and more compute and analytics power to where the real action is, which is at the edge. This is where the real business is happening. This is where the real data is being generated. So if you can visualize those 3 layers, then within those 3 layers, you will have, I would say, 5 or 6 major components. And those are very intuitive. So there would be, of course, the cloud, there would be the edge, then there would be enablers like IoT, 5G. Security would be a big element for sure, and I would say big data would round it off. So if I may just take a minute to quickly sort of complete that picture. When it comes to cloud, we've seen that there's been massive uptick in cloud adoption in the enterprise space over the last 2 years. in part helped by the pandemic, I would say. Critical enterprise applications have been moved to the cloud. In fact, cloud has emerged as the major growth and speed enabler over the last 2 years. If you look at the adoption of SaaS applications, for example, that's gone through the roof because what Gartner is predicting is that the SaaS application market would grow to be about $200 billion by 2024, up from $100 billion in 2018. So basically doubling up in a matter of 6 years. And sort of a related phenomena is the proliferation of mobile endpoints to the enterprise network. So with the work from home, work from anywhere regime setting in and look set for the future as well, and with the proliferation of IoT endpoints and the enterprise applications moving into the cloud, the enterprise itself is far more distributed. So more of the enterprise is actually outside the enterprise rather than in the enterprise. So that brings me to edge, and I would say the combination of 5G and edge. That's because a lot of the use cases for 5G are actually work in combination with the edge compute. So edge compute, as we know, this is where the rubber would really hit the road, where enterprises bring more and more compute and analytics power to the edge of business, because those kind of use cases need the compute and analytics power right then and there. There is no way the data could be sent back to the cloud and you wait for a response. So think of autonomous machines, think of telemedicine, think of drones up in the air. You need instant compute and analytics right where the action is. And this would be enabled by 5G, which is ultra low latency, high speed, high bandwidth availability. So the combination of 5G and edge is what would be important. Speaking very quickly of IoT, we have seen massive uptick in IoT use cases, not only for those cases where IoT is required for efficiency improvement and cost reduction, but even to basically assure of business continuity. We saw a massive breakdown of physical supply chains, and now there is a rush to sort of digitize supply chains across verticals, be it e-commerce, manufacturing. In IoT use cases now abound for things like asset tracking and management, fleet management, inventory management, warehouse optimization. In healthcare, for example, for monitoring remotely the patient vitals. In manufacturing, for Industry 4.0 applications, automation on the shop floor, so on and so forth. So IoT is one big factor. Security, of course, the previous speakers have been talking about the importance of security. So with the enterprise getting far more distributed, what it has done is the threat surface itself has widened a lot. And that's opened the enterprise up to massive ransomware attacks, phishing attacks, DDoS attacks, and we've all been witness to what's been going on. So, the final thing on this is that enterprises have really got to rethink and come up with a holistic strategy for their own security. So secure the endpoints, secure the network, secure the data and applications, but also have a complete security layer in terms of threat intelligence, apply AI and ML analytics to sort of predict oncoming threats, and also have the mitigation plans ready. So that's about security. And lastly, I would say big data. So, everyone says data is the new oil. I would add on to that and say the oil needs to be refined as well. So right now, I think where we are is, we are probably data rich, but somewhat insight poor. And that's where we need to get to. So the application of AI and analytics has been ramping up. It should ramp up even further so that enterprises can draw meaningful, actionable insights from that data and sort of predict better and really apply those to better their business. So, Sukanta, sorry, it was a sort of long-winded.
No, thank you very much, Mr. Karna. I think you have summarized the whole host of things which people would learn in 6 months in just a few minutes. And importantly so, the importance of the autonomous centers and importance of how IT infrastructure actually enables business growth. Now, obviously, you as a communications service provider provides this facility to large corporates, and I'm very lucky. Right in my left is one of the large corporates. Hamdard is a well-known family brand in India and abroad, a more than a 130-year-old company. And I have with me Mr. Sanjay Chowdhry, who I learned has started his career from when you one used to be the electronic data processing department of your, which is today considered a sort of a digital department. And over to you, Mr. Sanjay, to give us your insights on, as a user, how you see the infrastructure of IT developing into a 2.0 state.
Thanks, Mr. Dey, and thanks, Arun, for setting the context. It's easy for me now to elaborate or give some elaboration, or you can say some my viewpoints on this. I can say that nowadays the buzzword is that, okay, digitization is the buzzword. Definitely it's a buzzword. We all are working towards making our organization more and more digital, more and more towards the way we are working has changed due to the COVID scenarios. Work from home is now the buzzword again. The infrastructure we need to ramp up because of the COVID, and it has COVID has given us the lessons that how we need to improve our infrastructure, and due to that, the total digitization has been it's a revolution in India right now. The way the COVID had the joke is as you have heard many of you that the digitization now is not done by the CIO, it is done by the COVID. So this is actually the fact. Actually, it's although it's a joke which is circulating in the social media, but it's a fact as well that the pressure actually built in by the COVID, and it has been transferred from the top management to the CIOs that, okay, the work from home facility with the complete security has to be there, and no work should be hampered while working from home. So that is the thing which actually moved up, and we actually you can say scaled up and give the flexibility to all our working employees so that they should not miss even a single task while working from home. So in this scenario, if I talk about my current current company, which is Hamdard Laboratories India, we have done many things which has changed and which we have implemented as a digitization process. We implemented Salesforce automation, which is a mobile application, and from where all the Salesforce team actually can book the orders right in the mobile application and connecting to the ERP sitting at the back end office. Second is like the ticketing infrastructure support, the ticket can be raised online. So, and also the e-commerce platform, we are a 100 years old company, and so you can very well see that we have moved to the e-commerce platform as well. We are into the health mug, we are into Amazon, 1mg, Flipkart, so you can find our medicines on these e-commerce platforms as well now. So that has also been implemented, and now the people can order their medicine by sitting at home. So it is just the digitization effort which has been taken in our organization. You can see it's 100 years old company has now come up to what level? It's just the impact of the COVID and the impact of the requirement. It's a customer driven things. So customer has asked us to do this, and we need to deliver this because we need to sustain our business. So it's a competitive environment, and these are the things. So in industry 2.0, I can see apart from the digitization, the other things are coming up are the RPA, IoT, and the AI. So the plant needs to be digitized more and more. The RPA needs to be implemented in your organization so that the daily mundane jobs like the AR and AP in the finance part, just an example to say, can be digitized, and more productivity and enhancement can be done in your daily routine jobs. So there are many examples which we can discuss, and the security is paramount, as in the go-to presentation also they were telling us that there are so many WebEx and all these things are available, but security is definitely a paramount thing. While we are going ahead in digitizing all the processes, digitization has been done in the plant or we do in our all daily processes, but security has to be there. I still say that we, as a country itself, I say that we are lacking in the security. The data breaching are happening day in, day out. We are getting spam mails. I don't say that CIO will refuse. Any CIO will say that they are not receiving spam mails on daily basis. Even after improving your firewalls, even after improving and having a layer to layer implementing of firewalls or any other tools, the data breaching is happening day in and day out. So the security is to be paramount. That is my even after going for the industry 2.0. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chowdhry. I now go to Mr. Jasper Paul, who's the Senior Product Manager of 24/7. You have also, of course, heard him earlier in the day. So I'd like to ask him, as far as our topic is concerned of the panel, that how is the next gen IT, how are they prepared for the infra proactively to take remedial action? And 24/7, as you know, works on a very real-time monitoring of all your activities in the enterprise. Over to you.
Thank you. So this real-time data, synthetic transaction data, the IT infrastructure, the ongoing, the cloud transformation augmented by pandemic and so on, these all have generated huge amounts of data underneath. And one step is data analytics that is being run for any vertical that takes place, and IT, as part of IT, this analytical data and insight and contextual data to remediate a problem is very vital, right? So that's when AI and ML comes in, and you rightly said, the context of the data that we have has to be enriched, and that enrichment of that data has to be contextual to the teams that are working on that problem at that point in time. So that would actually bring out, the right dashboards, or if you have a dashboard in place, the right amount of proactive alerts that supposedly we give, the right collaboration platform that you can talk to in incident management situation. You have a situation room there. Now it's going to be, everything is going to be virtual. And when you have a situation room or a war room in your IT team, you have to collaborate, you have to meet. You have to meet virtually or in hybrid or anywhere place in the world. So that's going to bring a lot of information, and that information is again fed into the AI model itself, right? So that kind of capabilities has intelligence, and that needs observability data, and that needs monitoring data as well. So a lot of R&D takes place in our Zoho Corporation as well. So we have a Z Labs team that does a lot of R&D. We don't procure or things like that. So, but based on that R&D and context into the domain of each and every segment that we cater to, we built our monitoring system itself. So that itself has been an enabler for us, and it has gained a vast information that companies don't generally get. A lot of every nook and corner company has to have an observability data at the moment, so that you can get valuable insights out of it. So that's something that I like to say. And IT infrastructure next generation is definitely there. And one more thing I'd like to point out is the customer experience that we will in future give, right? So as I was saying, today we don't have papers. We just have a mobile phone, and we go to the airport and then scan our mobile phones, and we get the boarding pass. That's the experience that everyone is moving towards. And that if that simple scanner doesn't work, if that platform doesn't have monitoring in place, an IoT device, probably an IoT device there, and that IoT device could have been monitored. So if that plays, immediately a proactive action has to be taken place, and remediation, auto-remediative action has to take place. So those kind of technologies is where we are heading to, and I'm glad that I'm driving the technology side of things in the observability space with Site 24/7. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much. I think we have covered most of the points, but if any one of the panel members wishes to quickly say one more point, we have some few minutes time. Can any one of you want to talk about it? I have only 2 points which you may elaborate. One is the whole process of, in the early days, early means not very early, about 5 or 10 years back, you would have massive hardwares. But now you have what you call a virtual hardware. You have now cloud. All these things are doing what? They're taking much more data and reducing your cost structure. Because instead of having your hardware in each of the premises, you have a virtual hardware. So why do you put data on the cloud? Because the servers are only in one place and every data is on the cloud. That means you are actually hiring. So everything is service as a software as a service, technology as a service, managed service. So you only pay as you go. Because of this model, that is one of the reasons why the IT infrastructure industry will grow and grow and grow very rapidly. So this is one small point I wanted to make. And the other important thing which Jasper said is that to take action before anything really happens, the proactiveness of the IT infrastructure will really determine the success and failure of businesses and the business growth that they will drive. These are 2 small points I wanted to make. Anybody wants to elaborate quickly? We have a couple of minutes.
If I may add,
Sure.
quite agree with you. I think the way to go would be hybrid, the way to go would be virtual. And I think in that sense, software-defined networking, SASE architectures, which are emerging. I think the buzzword nowadays is composable infrastructure, which means you have the ability to sort of almost tune your infrastructure to the business requirements or mold your infrastructure to the business requirement. And we are not there yet. I think we are fast getting there because virtualizing and making it flexible and agile does take some work, and also contextualizing it and sort of customizing it also does take some work, but I think we are getting there. Thank you.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that, containerization and serverless technologies, those kind of technologies kind of bridge that, kind of starting to bridge that gap. And a recent survey has actually said that enterprises have now started moving to the serverless world. And so previously there was only the SMBs and the startups that were using those serverless compute, but now containers and serverless itself has kind of taken over. The edge also has kind of started to see the light in the space, especially in the enterprise space.
Yes.
I just want to add one line only, that as Arun has already pitched on this, that the business should drive the infrastructure rather than infrastructure is driving. That the infrastructure should be such that it should be actually capable to handle each and every business. So business should drive the infrastructure, which should be coming in the market, not the infrastructure driving the business. So that is the only thing I want to say.
Good point. So with that, thank you to all my panel members. Thank you, Cyber Media. And I feel that we are in good times, and in IT infrastructure industry in India and in all over the world, which probably be one of the biggest and the fastest growing industries we have ever seen. Over to you.
Thank you, Sukanta sir, for moderating the session. I would request you to please hand over the mementos to our esteemed panelists.